Greetings. This is Paul the Poke from PaulthePoke.com. Today's topic: Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister, United Kingdom, and central bank digital currencies, also known as CBDCs. It's all going to tie in. It's going to have a point and a purpose where all this is going here as we wade through this. Rishi Sunak is the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Mr. Sunak is the son of Hindu parents of Indian descent. Sunak met his wife, Akshata Murthy, while earning his MBA from Stanford University in the United States. He is from North Yorkshire in England. That's up north. I think it's the largest county in England. And specifically, Sunak is a member of Parliament for Richmond. He is the youngest prime minister in history at 42 years old. He will be the first prime minister of the United Kingdom of Asian descent. So, a little bit about Mr. Sunak. He worked at Goldman Sachs as an analyst. Afterwards, he worked at a couple of hedge funds. And later, Sunak was the director of the investment firm Catamaran Ventures. Now, Catamaran Ventures is an investment firm that's owned by his father-in-law, goes by NR, Nayayana Murthy. And Mr. Murthy is the founder of Infosys. So let's make this very clear. He comes from big time money. I want to say, what was it? His wife owns less than 1%, like 0.9% shareholder in Infosys, which is worth roughly, $900 million, essentially like $1 billion per 1% of this company. So the company's worth at least $100 billion. So the guy has access to crazy amounts of money. He's pretty wealthy himself. They are some of the wealthiest people in England. He does have a statement that he put out. He tweeted it. The United Kingdom is a great country, but we face a profound economic crisis. That's why I'm standing to be the leader of the Conservative Party and your next prime minister. I want to fix our economy, unite our party, and deliver for our country. Here's the statement that he put out on Twitter. Links will be provided to all of these things. It's pretty much restating. Served as your chancellor, helping to steer our economy through the toughest of times. The challenges we face now are even greater, but the opportunities, if we make the right choice, are phenomenal. I have the track record of delivery, not lacking any confidence, a clear plan to fix the biggest problems we face, and I will deliver on the promise of the 2019 manifesto. There will be integrity, professionalism, accountability at every level of government I lead, and I will work day in and day out to get the job done. All right. Asking you for the opportunity to help fix our, economy, country, whichever one. Click on the link if you want to find out the rest of that. But this is where things get really interesting. Now, for the past year, the United Kingdom has been leading the G7. And as part of their leadership, Rishi has announced a joint task force between the Treasury and Bank of England to look into the potential of a central bank digital currency, also known as a CBDC. Now, this is something I've seen in the past and just I've been watching it from afar. And then this guy gets put in power, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wasn't this curious? Because he put this tweet out, and this tweet was published roughly a year ago in 2021. And he puts out an infomercial for central bank digital currencies. And this is straight from His Majesty's Treasury. Actually, it would have been Her Majesty's I can't say it. Her Majesty's Treasury a year ago. Queen Elizabeth was still. Now it's King Charles III is in charge. So His Majesty. I give up. Treasury the King of England. It's his treasury. That's the point. Now, to mark the launch of the G7's new report on central bank digital currencies, the Chancellor at Rishi Sunak explains that what CBDCs are and how they would benefit businesses and consumers. So, clicked on the link. Again, this is from the government of the UK. This is where it takes you. G7 public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies and G7 finance ministers and central bank governors statement on central bank digital currencies and digital payments. So this is what they're looking to do. And this is global. They're going to make this is, and by the way, a lot of people see this sort of stuff and they think it's some sort of, voodoo conspiracy plan. This is not voodoo conspiracy. This is out in the open. They're not hiding. They're telling you. It's being telegraphed what these governments and central banks want to do. This is not some dude hiding in the background with a mask on with kabuki theater. This is real stuff. And here you click on these links. Public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies. Okay, let's do that. And they got a 27-page paper. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing, obviously. I'm going to skip the forward. But just so you know it's real, this was from a year ago. Here's our man, Mr. Sunak. He's one of the guys in charge of this plan, representing the UK and their presidency of the G7. He's in charge. And isn't that amazing? 1 year later, look who's in charge now of the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister. I don't know. I just see these things and I get curious. That's all I can tell people. Here's the introduction, which again, I'm going to skip it. I think there are 13 or 14 points. We're going to just kind of hit the principles, monetary and financial stability. Of course, this is what this is for. And quote, does no harm to monetary and financial stability. I'm sure we should believe these people when they tell us that. Principle 2, legal and governance frameworks. Going to observe the rule of law, they say. Politicians do a wonderful job of that. No corruption in government. Data privacy. This will be kept private. So don't worry about anybody getting hold of your information, identification. Don't worry about that. We're going to protect that, they say. Operational resilience and cybersecurity. Oh, it'll be secure. Trust us, they say. Competition. I'm not even going to go there. That's a joke because they're looking to bring this thing together on a global scale. We don't want any kind of illicit finance, so no money laundering is going to take place on this. And that's probably true because they'll be able to monitor every step of the way and take a look at every single electronic transaction that takes place. It will have its own electronic fingerprint. So I believe that part. They'll be able to track it. That won't be an issue. Spillovers, energy, and environment. Of course, this is going to be good for the environment. Net zero, don't worry about it. Energy usage, it'll be very efficient. Have economy and innovation. Financial inclusion. So we hear about this in the United States, and you hear a lot of times, well, this is to help serve the underbanked, for people who don't have bank accounts. They will be able to access the central bank or the Treasury, in our case here in the United States. If you have your little card, credit card with the implanted electrical or the planted chip on your cards, you'll be able to get a direct line of credit from Uncle Sam. And, based on your credit score and your carbon credit score, how much money you can withdraw and borrow, and will determine your interest rates and all sorts of, it'll be very personal. You like your own little bank. Uncle Sam's your own little bank is what they're telling us. Payments to and from the public sector. So a CBDC were used to support payments between authorities and the public. They can do it in a fast, inexpensive, transparent, inclusive, safe manner, both in normal times and in times of crisis. So this is going to be just great. You can use it whenever and however, as long as they don't turn off the electricity. Cross-border functionality. The design is global. We're going to get into that in a little bit later. And international development. Principles 12 and 13, the last two principles they are telling you central banks are looking toward having the ability to do this on a global scale. It is what it is. And here again, G7 finance ministers and central bank governor's statement on central bank digital currencies. So if you want to read this, feel free to read all this stuff. The devil's in the details. I'm sure there's some other things in here that are very disturbing, but nonetheless, it's all public. Nothing's being hidden here. There are no tricks. This is not taking place in some back room, in a dark room with a bunch of evil people. They are out in the open. They're telling you, we want to do this and we want to sign you up. You probably won't have a choice, but I digress. And essentially, this 3 minutes, you get to hear him talk about it. Highly recommend you listen to his little 3 minute spiel. Kind of hits the highlights of what I talked about. He's going to talk about central bank digital currencies. And again, this was made a year ago. And a year later, look who's in charge. Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. So, you know, again, links are provided. Go to the website, click on this. You can listen to it, watch it, read all this stuff. Here's the access website, www.gov.uk. Government publications, principles for retail central bank digital currencies, G7 finance ministers, and central bank governor's statement on central bank. And this is the state. I thought this is a great chart. And this chart is provided by visualcapitalist.com. Visualize the state of central bank digital currencies. This is what's going on in 2022. These are the countries involved in various stages of CBDC development. So if it's been launched, I think that's Nigeria in Africa, they're using it. Issued a CBDC for widespread retail and or wholesale use. Countries in the green, this is being piloted. Russia, China, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, South Africa. Sweden's doing it. In development, countries in the kind of teal, Canada, Brazil, Australia, Singapore, Indonesia, India, Iran, Turkey. They're taking a look at it. Japan, South Korea. United States, we're researching it in the blue. You see all the different countries throughout Madagascar, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Tanzania, Kenya, Peru, Colombia, Mexico. Central America is all in the research stage. So over 100 countries worldwide are exploring digital currency. This is also talks about cryptocurrency, which this is different. This is different from, say, Bitcoin or Ethereum, or pick your cryptocurrency. This is central bank digital currencies. This is who's looking at it. And if you want to check out more detail on who's doing it, how they're doing it, go to visualcapitalist.com. State of central bank digital currencies. So what is a central bank digital currency? And I got this from investopedia.com. Again, a link's going to be provided for those folks who want to take a look at it. They're digital tokens, similar to cryptocurrency, except for it's issued by a central bank. And these currencies are pegged to the value of that country's fiat currency. So in our case here in the United States, the digital dollar would be pegged to the value of the dollar. That's how much it would be worth and how much it would change from day to day, just like the value of our dollar does. Again, this central bank digital currency is a digital form of the country's fiat currency, issued and regulated by a nation's monetary authority or central bank. CBDCs promote financial inclusion and simplify the implementation of monetary and fiscal policy. That's right, because the government can work directly with the individual. You bet it definitely simplifies it for the government. As a centralized form of currency, they may not anonymize transactions as some cryptocurrencies do. That's not totally accurate. Most of the digital transactions on cryptocurrencies, there's an electronic fingerprint, and it's traceable. Like if you trade cryptocurrencies, you can go back and find that when you traded it down to the second, transaction number, letters, how much. It's completely um, able to be traced. I guarantee you, Uncle Sam or whatever government, pick your form, they're going to be able to track who does it, when, where, and how much, down to the millisecond. And many countries are exploring how CBDCs will affect their economies, existing financial networks, and stability. And again, this comes from Investopedia.com. These are just terms, it's kind of the nuts and bolts of what a CBDC is. One thing we are going to transfer as to how this is, how does this have biblical implications? First of all, this is from the Middle East Eye. Now they're paying attention to these sorts of things. Newly appointed British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said that he sees Jerusalem as Israel's historic capital. And he said this at a Conservative Friends of Israel event back in August during the leadership race to become the next British Prime Minister, which at that time he lost to Liz Truss. Now, she lasted 45 days. It was a train wreck. This guy steps in. Everybody says he's voted in. He was not voted in. He was appointed. He had a number of votes within the system over there in Britain to get this. But nonetheless, he is pro Jerusalem being Israel's capital. Now, does that mean he's going to move, all their government offices to Jerusalem? I don't know the answer to that, but he recognizes Jerusalem as its capital. We're going to take a look at Revelation 13 verses 16 and 17. And he, that's the Antichrist, causes all, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. And he, that's the Antichrist, provides that no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one individual who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. So I want to be very, very clear here. I am not suggesting Rishi Sunak is the Antichrist. I mean, we don't even have a 10-nation federation on the scene. Daniel's toes of iron and clay. That's not on the scene. Same thing's noted in Revelation. It's not here yet. We have yet to see two witnesses complete their ministry at the third temple, and the third temple has yet to be built. For the record, it's our position here at PaulthePoke.com. The 7-year tribulation has yet to begin. I think we are still waiting for the events in the throne room of heaven of Revelation 4 to begin. And the events described above in Revelation 13, this is the second half of the tribulation during the reign of the Antichrist. So we don't have anybody who's an Antichrist, let alone all these other things that were mentioned above. But what I do find interesting is this idea of global currency and a one world economic system, which is observed in Revelation 13. And the Bible tells us an economic system is coming that requires identification markings on the right hand or forehead to participate. And it's very clear what Scripture is saying and very encompassing. All will have the mark, or no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one who has the mark. Now, just me listening to what these CBDCs do, they will allow for every single economic transaction to be traceable and accounted. No anonymity. If you've used the system, they're going to know it, and it's not a conspiracy. The G7 is publicly proclaiming their intent. Central banks and governments of the world are working together to make a CBDC system happen. Now, how they ultimately agree and pegging the value and worth of the currency, the digital currency, the widget, whatever they want to call it, and how much value it has, how they agree upon that, I don't know. It would stand to reason it would take a pretty good economic event or emergency, and then there would probably be some consensus. Okay, it needs to be worth this, and we'll transfer and convert, and blah 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 blah. I mean, that's usually what makes things happen, is when you have an emerging event or a crisis. That's when things get done. We've seen plenty of that. You know, we have politicians in the United States who will tell us never waste a good crisis. Well, they don't, and they're using them. I mean, just look what was done with the crisis that was COVID. Look what all got done in a short period of time, less than 2 years. Think our world's changed in the last 2 years because of COVID? And there will be more of these types of events coming. Scripture tells us, you know, it'll be like birthing pangs of a woman in labor. So the closer it gets to the event, the more of them, the events there will be, they will be more intense, and things will get a little more crazy. So, and, you know, this idea of a single economic currency, this isn't the first time. There were people over in England. Central banker in England was calling for a single currency. Spain wants to go cashless. So there are plenty of people out there who agree with this. And, you know, by all accounts, this guy's an absolute globalist. And he comes from money. His in-laws are money. And they have Infosys, you know, data company, technological company. So, interesting times for sure. Now, if you are interested in this, please feel free to share with others at PaulthePoke.com. If you'd like to receive emails every time we put something out, go over here to the gray email box, fill out this field, hit subscribe. You will be given a notification every time we put something out, and things are going pretty busy here lately. It's like every time you turn around, you have big ticket news items. So I remember it used to be just like maybe one a week, every 2 weeks. Well, now we have big global events taking place. You know, we still got things taking place. Russia and Ukraine are squabbling over a quote dirty bomb and false flags. We could be talking about that in the next day or two. We got the elections coming up in the United States in about, I guess it'd be 2 weeks from tonight. So we'll be watching that as well. How's that going to affect things? We have lots of older leaders here in the United States whose health and mental status are being called into question. Lord only knows what that could do. Their health, the fallout, if something were to happen to them, have a health crisis with some of these political leaders. Lots of stuff to talk about. Anyhow, appreciate you guys following along. Please feel free to share with others. Y'all have a great evening. Take care. Bye.